It's like one of those like friends, like intros.
You done taking the pictures?
Full house, like full house.
Yo, free.
Just boss out around the corner.
Yo, it's like this is a wall. Everywhere you look, there are people sucking.
All right, so okay, so I'm gonna go through composite function and all those operations, and so I'm gonna give a marker. So we're gonna talk about operations a little bit more, and I know I didn't assign you homework. You were quietly disappointed over the weekend.
He was. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I was like, wait,
I was
I
like-
kept thinking like, wait, did I have?
I checked on Saturday. I was like, they're cool.
Mr. Yeah, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, literally like every 4 hours, I was checking the photo. I'm
Yeah.
like, we probably just forgot.
No, you did not. You did not
No,
check.
I'm not even joking.
No, I actually checked them because like sometimes you do forget and then you post it at like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do now?
I did not do that.
You've done that
Yes, you have.
before.
Yes, you
Okay,
have.
so
You're just like moving on.
f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. We already know this. F minus g of x is equal to f of x minus g of x. And we got f times g of x, that's equal to f of x times g of x. And then we got f over g of x is equal to f of x over g of x. But g of x cannot equal to 0, we already know that. We have f of g of x, those are Fogg functions. So it's f of g of x and the g of f of x, that's equal to g of f of x. Okay, so those are all the operations. But we're going to emphasize on those two today. We already did that with the graphing perspective. The last time we go through two different graphs. We were going to have homework about this today. So you're going to have to recognize how do you do that again. Also, we're going to go over an inverse function as well. So f of x is equal to, let's say, negative 2x squared minus 3, and the g of x is equal to, say, as 2x minus 4, something like this. So if I say, can you find f of g of x? That just means f of g of x. Now with composite function, I start with the inside out always. So this part I'm gonna say is equal to f. I'm gonna call this g of x. And then I'm gonna start with the inside. What is g of x in this case? 2x minus 4. Okay, so that's equal to f of 2x. Let's probably call this 2x minus 4. Question about this part? No. So now I'm going to go to f functions. F functions right here. Now you have to be very cautious when you're doing this. I know a lot of people tend to do it wrong, so you have to be careful. So I'm gonna write down, I'm pretending I'm writing down this. But instead of place x, I'm gonna put a big parenthesis. So -2, and I'm gonna put a parenthesis here, -3, and then put a big parenthesis right here, says 2x, and then this is a square. So think about this one's a -2x squared minus 3, right? So in place that x, I'm gonna replace it with 2x minus 4. So I'm gonna put a red. Where's the 2x minus 4? But that's not a simplify. That's not most simplified. You have to make sure you don't kill any puppy when you distribute the 2. So I will actually write it out more properly. So that's equal to -2 times 2x minus 4 times 2x minus 4 minus 3. So that way I can get it correctly. So -2, 4x squared minus 8x minus 8x is also going to be minus 16x plus 16 minus 3. Now I can distribute a -2 because this is the order operation, the square first, and then distribute a -2 next. So it'll be -8x squared, x squared, plus 32x, I think,
And then
minus 32 minus 3, so it'll be minus 35. So I'm going to ask you to do an easier one. I'm going to ask you to do g of f of x.
I would put it in G.
It's a golf function. So I'm going to ask you to do that. Same idea. So it's called composite function. It's a function within a function. Everybody got it? Yeah? Okay, so now I'm going to say that's g of f of x. I'm going to replace this part first, right? So that's equal to g. What's the f of x? Right? So I'm going to pretend that I write down the 2x. This one's going to be -2x squared minus 3. I'm going to pretend to write down like this. And minus 4 is in red. And I'm just put here -2x squared minus 3. I'm going to do is distribute this, so it's going to be -4x squared plus 6, minus 6, sorry, minus 4. So that's equal to -4x squared minus 10. Question about this part? Yes?
Do you need a factor anymore?
Nope. You don't need a factor, you just leave it in standard form. Good question. Just leave it as a standard form. Question about this part? Now, I can ask you the evaluation. So what's the difference between what I'm gonna ask next is like this. What is f of g of -2? So for me, that's gonna be f of g of -2 because I'm just placing that x with the -2. Again, I'm gonna work from the inside out. So the inside is gonna be what? G of -2. So what is g of -2? Well, g of -2 is gonna be, I'm gonna start from the inside, so I work this on the side. G of -2 is what? 2 times -2 minus 4, right? So that's equal to -8, I think.
Yeah.
So that's equal to f of -8. Now we plug it back in. So it'll be -2. Whatever x I have, it's gonna put a -8 squared minus 3. So it'll be -2 times 64 minus 3. -128 minus 3. That's equal to minus 131.
Yep.
I think. So you're gonna try one. It says f of g, no, sorry, g of f of -3. Hopefully you can get this really quickly. Annabelle, you need somebody help you? Maria, do you need somebody help you? You got it? Where'd you get Maria?
I'm just.
Ariana, you doing okay? What'd you get for answer? Fanny, what'd you get for answer?
I got -46.
That's what I got too. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. So, who did not get -46? Raise your hand. It's okay. You did not get it? Okay, so we're gonna work through. Is that okay? So this is a g of f of -3. Did you write this notation first? Okay. You start from the inside. You're gonna plug in -3 into the f. So I'm gonna start from the other side. I'm gonna start from right next to it. I'm gonna say f of -3. That's equal to -2 times -3 squared minus 3. Now what happens? PEMDAS. PEMDAS says parentheses exponent. It's gonna happen first. So it's equal to -2 times 9. Does that make sense? Because -3 squared is gonna be 9 minus 3. That's equal to, now it's -18 minus 3. That's equal to -21. Did you get this part right? Okay, which part you got it wrong? You do those two together first?
I didn't plug it back in. I didn't plug the -3, the x.
Okay, you have to place in the x.
Yeah.
And then now you have to place, this one's -21, you're gonna place the 21, -21 into the y. So that's equal to 2 times -21 minus 4. So it'll be -42 minus 4, that's equal to -46. So that is the evaluation. Got it? Yes.
So you know how when sometimes you get like 4x squared minus like 10, like the last one, why don't we like simplify it like more? Like if we tried.
Oh, 4x squared minus 10?
Yeah.
You're not you're trying to get to a standard form.
Okay.
The reason why you use standard form is because, I mean, you can put it in factor form, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
It's much better to train yourself to be able to put it in standard form, but either form is fine, honestly. But in this case, I prefer it in standard form.
Alright.
Question about this part? The next thing we're going to talk about is simple inverse function. Okay, we're not going to talk about complex inverse functions. We're going to talk about a very simple one. That's something we can evaluate very quickly. So what is inverse functions? And we're going to mix in the composite function because that way we can make like the whole package complete. So what is inverse functions? And this is a big topic. AP, not AP exam, but the pre-calc question always love to test this topic. It doesn't test on SAT so often, but they do sometimes. So what is inverse functions? We're going to talk about a little bit introduction about inverse. Now that it's very important. So it must have a fill in couple conditions. So the first condition is the function in order to have inverse. So what is inverse function and what you need to have inverse? What you need to have inverse? So what is inverse function? This is a function. Okay, so we're gonna call this the function f, right? Now this is called inverse functions. So a lot of you guys probably gonna read, what would you read this if you would read it by yourself? Yes.
The inverse function f.
Okay. But I know some of you guys read as f to the negative 1 of x. That's bad. Never read it that way. You're gonna read as, because you don't want to get confused. So you're gonna read as f inverse of x. The reason why you don't write down f inverse, you don't do the f negative 1 of x, because f of negative 1 of x does not equal to f of x like this. Okay, so don't ever get confused. So I never read the f negative 1 of x. But if you read it that way, you will think it's this way, and which is wrong. That's called reciprocal instead of inverse. A lot of people get confused with reciprocal and inverse. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so f inverse of x. What you need to have inverse functions, there are a couple conditions. First condition is must be monotonic. A lot of you guys probably never hear what's monotonic mean. How many of you guys hear monotonic in math before? Not in math, right? Monotonic means strictly increasing or strictly decreasing. Okay, That means the function either is just going up or going down, but never go up and down. If you go up and down, you cannot have an inverse functions. Okay? So therefore, it must be monotonic. Second condition was very like the first one. It says must pass horizontal line test. Horizontal line test. Must pass horizontal line test. What kind of makes sense? If I have a function going like this, is that going to pass horizontal line test? Strictly increasing, right? If I do horizontal line test, it's okay. It's not like vertical line test. But horizontal line test, you're going to test like this.
Yeah.
It always pass. But if you have a function going like this, it's not strictly increasing anymore. It's decreasing and increasing. You will fail horizontal line test. So the function must pass horizontal line test. Okay? So it must have those two conditions. What's the result of inverse? The result is this. And we're going to talk about result. Result of inverse is f of x and f inverse of x graph are symmetry to x, y equal to x graph. And we're not going to show you until Thursday because I'm not going to show you until Wednesday because I'm not here tomorrow. I'll usually show you this tomorrow. F of x and f inverse of x, the graph
So they're reflected.
is symmetry to y equal to x. Symmetry, which is reflecting y equal to x. Okay, so it's also reflecting. Yeah. So result, and two result is x and y value is gonna swap. X, y value swap. What if the function is not monotonic? You can restrict the function. So we can restrict the function in a certain way, so the function is always increasing, the function is always decreasing. So if I have a parabola, I can restrict the halfway and to have that function inverse to the other one. So those things that you have to understand for this, for inverse. Now, how do I find the inverse? How to find inverse? So there's a 4-step, and I don't usually like steps. That's not my thing. But in this case, really breakdown is a lot easier. So there's a 4-step, unfortunately. If you start with the f of x, you change the f of x with the y. The second step is going to be what? Swap x and y. The third step is solve for y, solve for new y. The fourth step is replace y with f inverse of x. So remember, I read it correctly now. Is what? Low battery. It's okay. Replace y with the f inverse of x. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do it. Y equal to 2x minus 7. Yes? No. Okay, let me finish. F of x. I'm going to start with f of x equal to 2x minus 7. How do I change that? I can say, well, this one, I'm going to follow first step. Change f of x with the y. So I'm going to y equal to 2x minus 7, right? Swap x and y. So that means everywhere you have y, you're going to replace as x. Everywhere you have x, you're going to replace as y. So it's going to be x equal to 2y minus 7. Solve for y, so it's going to be x plus 7 is equal to 2y. Y equal to x plus 7 over 2. That's equal to x over 2 plus 7 over 2. I like this one format, it's better, but it's just me. That's my preference because I like the bottom to be divided out. And I'm going to replace that y with what? Okay. Are we okay here? It's pretty easy, right? Okay, we want to ask you to try one. I know all you guys can do this kind of question. I'm going to ask you something a little bit harder. And it's going to be like this. I'm going to ask you a little bit harder of this one. This one's kind of like the fog problems, or the fox problem, or the cat problems. Or the panda problems. So I want you to see if you can do this one. This is a kind of hard one. This is a lot. This is a pre-calc inverse instead of algebra 2 inverse. This is algebra 2 inverse. All you guys should be able to do this. But not a lot of people can do this. But I'll go over it if you have a problem. It's kind of like the fog problem. Not fog, a fox problem or cat problem, like panda problems. Kind of like that. Inverse is a very big topic. Inverse is what makes pre-calc. I think inverse is the most important algebra 2 functions that help you shape out what pre-calc is like. Because we talk about a lot of inverse here. You're gonna swap all the x and y. So whatever has y, you're gonna replace the x. It might have 2y in this case. So what's my first step?
Change the f of x to y.
Yeah, that's so easy, right? Y is equal to x over 2x minus 3. The next step is a little bit harder because you're gonna swap. Whatever has a y, you're gonna replace as what?
X.
X, right? Y over 2y minus 3. Wait, I have y in two different spots.
Yeah.
It's just like the panda problem that we deal with before. We just get rid of fractions. We multiply both sides by 2y minus 3. So that's going to be x times 2y minus 3 is equal to y. I'm going to distribute this. Move the same side, yes. Factor out the y, good, you guys doing awesome. And then y is equal to negative 3x over 1 minus 2x. And that's going to replace that.
The f inverse of x.
Or it's equal to 3x over 2x minus 1. You can be that way too, because I can take that negative sign, go distribute down there. So either one is acceptable, either one is the right answer. So this is a harder one, and you're gonna have this one on the test. Yeah. Okay? Now here's my question for you. Is I want you to do all those questions here, and then I'm gonna add one more. Okay? So 7, 8, 7, that doesn't make sense. 9. It's gonna be f. No, I don't want to do F. Let's do G. G of,
G of.
let's do F, let's do F.
F of G inverse of.
F of a G of inverse of -2. Okay, so you're gonna go through all those questions here. And make sure you check each other when the answer is. Maybe this one I'm gonna change to 2 because the number is too big. Let's do 2. Okay, so each one of them, you're gonna go through each one. And the last one is the hardest one, which is F of G inverse. So you think about you have to do what first?
Find G inverse.
Mister, is this homework?
No, this is the classwork. And then you got homework. I know this is a lot of material, but since I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, so kind of check everything in.
So what are we gonna do tomorrow?
I will record a video for you to watch.
No.
You're still gonna see me. Just unlike me. I know you guys don't miss me, but that's okay.
I do.
You miss him already, even though he's so good.
Huh?
Yes, I do.
I know that she already misses him.
I feel already bad.
Kind of stupid you are on paper.
I forget to put it in.
You sound like Cypress Creek student now. You know what's funny is I bring math team to compete last year, and Sadat went to the competition, and we are the only team that doesn't bring pencil and paper to the competition. We went to a math competition without pencil and paper, and there was like a very super nerdy kid, like has like a dozen pencils lined up. It's already sharp, right? And Sadat went to him. Sadat is like, yeah. Do you think I can borrow a pencil from you? And that super nerdy kid's like, no, I need to use them all. And he looked at him seriously. He's like, I need to use them all. And we are the only school in the math competition have no pencil and paper whatsoever. We are the ratchet school. It was funny though. I was like, Sadat, you've been rejected by a 15-year-old nerdy kid. I have to say we are the coolest team there. We come, like everybody have a full alpha data shirt and like everybody's organized and we come in with like ratchet clothes, holes in the pants and stuff like that. It was hilarious.
Coming with nothing.
Well, no pencil, no paper. Typical Cypress kid. So check each other with the answers. The last one, which is probably the hardest one, you're gonna have to help out each other tomorrow.
We'll do that first.